Last night, after losing Game 5, after wearing the Kobe Bryant Black Mamba jerseys where it felt like Friday night was going to be a coronation and Jimmy Butler said, no way, not yet, the Los Angeles Lakers win their 17th NBA championship, tying themselves with the Boston Celtics for the most in NBA history. And more importantly, obviously the bigger story than just the Lakers winning their 17th is LeBron James winning his 4th championship with his 3rd different team, right? 2 with the Heat, 1 with the Cavs, and now 1 with the Lakers. And looking at really the entirety of the NBA bubble, right? Looking at even just going even past it, going further than that, looking at LeBron James's entire career. LeBron won his 4th title last night, doing what he's done throughout his entire career. Since he first was drafted to Cleveland, since he went to Miami, since he came back to Cleveland, when he went to Los Angeles, he won a title doing so what he's done again for his entire 17-year career. Silence the doubters. And I was one of them. Hand up. We will look back. I know, obviously, we will look back 10 years, 15 years, 20 years and be like, wow, how could anyone ever doubt LeBron? We just saw Michael Jordan, a little different, right? The Last Dance documentary comes out this pandemic. All we see and all we hear about is Michael Jordan using the fuel from the doubters, but mostly a lot of praise towards Michael Jordan. LeBron James, best player in the world in your opinion, 2nd best player in the world in your opinion, maybe 3rd, 4th, 5th. LeBron is one of those polarizing figures that people love to hate on. But one thing that cannot be argued throughout LeBron's entire career is that he's been doubted. And again, I was one of those doubters. I'm a LeBron fan, as weird as it sounds. I like LeBron. I know people really, he's one of those polarizing figures where you either love LeBron or you hate LeBron. There are definitely many qualities I love tweaking about LeBron. But if we're talking about the player on the court, everything he can do, how he makes everyone around him so much better, the circumstances he has to overcome in order to win a championship, to even get to a championship, a lot of that is fueled by doubt. And yours truly, as soon as really the Lakers got down to the bubble, I had my doubts and I had my concerns. And what does LeBron James do? Silence those doubts yet again. Lakers get down to the bubble. They're playing the best basketball of any team in the NBA right before the shutdown. LeBron James on a tear. They beat the Clippers. They beat the Bucks. They have some big wins going into that stretch. LeBron is playing like an MVP. LeBron was gathering momentum and had a chance, if there's no shutdown, to take the MVP away from Giannis and claim it for his own. But as we know, the shutdown happens. Have a little break from March. We come back in late July. The Lakers looked awful. And I had my doubts about the Lakers because of how bad they looked. You had those seeding games that go on. The Lakers' three-point shooting in those games was horrendous. Atrocious, actually. 2nd worst in the NBA in those seeding games. They're role players, they're bench players, right? Outside of LeBron, outside of AD. Kyle Kuzma, Danny Green, Rajon Rondo, Markieff Morris. Name, any player you want in there. I guess Rajon Rondo maybe will leave out because he was injured. Those role players, they needed to step up for LeBron. They needed to play well. We're not doing so. And that came to its ugly head. It reared its ugly head in that first game against Portland. And I'll never forget sitting here after that game 1, where the Trailblazers, in my mind, did not even play their best basketball game. Lakers clearly did not play anywhere near as good as they should be. And I thought, wow, the Lakers are in real trouble here. This is a team that could get bounced in the first round. I will never forget, after the opening weekend of games for the NBA playoffs, when it came down to the big 3 that we thought could win a title, right? It was still the Clippers, it was still the Bucks, and it was still the Lakers. I would never forget putting the Lakers 3rd on that list of the 3. A lot more faith in the Clippers, a lot more faith in the Bucks. And when it came to the Lakers, what I saw in those 8 seeding games, what I saw so far in that first game against Portland, I had a lot of doubts. Not really LeBron related, but it was more, can LeBron do enough to get these role players around him to play well? Because they were playing awful. And guess what? LeBron silenced those doubts, obviously, as we know, ran through Portland, ran through Houston, ran through Denver, and continued to run through the Heat in the finals to win his 4th championship. It was riddled with doubt to me in the bubble. I thought the Clippers by far were the better team. I thought the Clippers were even the better team in the playoffs when it came down before the season even stopped. When LeBron is playing great, and the Lakers are on a roll, again, right before the pandemic started, even then I thought, you know what? When it comes down to it, when push comes to shove, when it's Western Conference Finals time, I still have faith that the Clippers' depth can overcome LeBron's great play, can overcome AD's great play. I had my doubts, and I was wrong. And like I said, he's been doing it his entire career. And the narrative, it changes a lot about what there is to doubt about LeBron. But each and every time he comes back and proves them wrong. Now, it's funny to look back in retrospect with LeBron and his struggles to win a title and get his first title. Right, and now at least we sit here. Giannis got bounced for the second year in a row with the Bucks. Right, they didn't even make it to the Eastern Conference Finals this year. And there's now all of a sudden doubt and questioning about, well, is Giannis truly one of these elite players? Can he win a championship as the number one piece? This is really only Giannis's, third real year of winning a title? He was at an MVP form last year. We're up 2 against the Raptors in the Eastern Conference Finals. Obviously, we know what happened there. Comes back, wins the MVP again. This time they get bounced by the Heat. And there's already questions about, will Giannis leave? Can he be the guy? And there's already doubts surrounding Giannis about if he could be the main guy leading a championship team. LeBron James, it took him 9 years of his career to win his first title. He was with crap for Cleveland when he was first drafted there. Somehow got one of the worst teams in NBA history to the finals in the first year. Amazing how he was able to do that. Goes to Miami, loses to the Mavericks, and we'll get to that in a second here. But it took him 9 years. 9. There was doubts about he could be the one. Could he get a championship? Could he be the reason why a team wins a championship? Right? He goes to Miami, everyone, including yours truly, bags on him, rides him, does not agree with the decision, ring chasing, and that really started a new era of free agency. So we all had our doubts. We had our doubts if he could be the one to win a championship. Goes to Miami. Right, he obviously has that corny intro press conference talking about not 8 titles, not 9 titles, not 10 titles that they're going to win with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. They make it to the finals in their first year in Miami. LeBron, as you know, plays one of the worst finals he could possibly play in his career against the Mavericks. Mavericks win. Big upset over the Heat. And there's tons of question marks. Can LeBron play well in the big moment? Because he really, up to that point, he has not. So there's questions about LeBron, and there's doubts about LeBron if he could actually be the reason why a team wins a championship. He silenced them. We did have a coaching change yesterday. We did have a general manager change yesterday. Let's see what the Falcons did. Firing Dan Quinn, firing Thomas Dimitroff, is the latest example of why bad teams stay bad. Why the old saying goes, you don't mix business with pleasure, and that truly is a very sound business idea. Because yesterday the Falcons, a potential, now not a lot of people are saying this, but there are some rumors, there are some thoughts out there. There was some flirtation. The Falcons, because they had Todd Gurley, because they have Julio Jones and Matt Ryan and Calvin Ridley, they added Hayden Hurst. The offensive line, at least, is filled with first-round draft picks. Whether they lived up to that potential or not, they filled with talent that was supposed to be good. There was some thought that maybe the Falcons could be a spunky team that fits in that 7th and final wildcard team. Maybe they can make some noise here and just be a contender. But instead, they fall to 0-5 on the season as they fall to the Panthers 23-16 yesterday. Teddy Bridgewater carving up that Atlanta secondary, carving up that Atlanta defense. And that was finally, for Arthur Blank, the straw that broke the camel's back. Now, to me, this decision, again, highlights why bad organizations remain bad. Here's what I mean by that. Last year, this decision should have been made last year. By not making it on time, by not making a decision when they should have, all they did was set themselves up to delay the inevitable, and that pushed their timeline back year after year after year. Arthur Blank let his emotions overrule the fact that Dan Quinn should not have been brought back last year. They were 1-7 heading to the bye in 2019. They had a bye week, apparently, allegedly, according to Arthur Blank. Dan Quinn all of a sudden came to this realization, had his seeing God moment, woke up and realized, wow, I got to change what I'm doing here. We got to finish this up. Then the Falcons went on to finish 7-9. So it's 6-2 down the stretch, the last half of the year. And because of that, because the players really fought for Dan Quinn, really played their hearts out to save Dan Quinn's job, Arthur Blank thought, it's going to be a good idea. This team obviously is inspired by him. We're going to bring him back. We're going to bring him back for 2020. We're going to do it. F it. Let's do it. He allowed his emotions to cloud his judgment, And now guess what? Instead of hitting the reset button in 2019 like they should have, realizing this is a bad head coach with a team that needs a shakeup, you were hitting the reset button 5 games into your 2020 season. You could have been starting the new era in Atlanta. And I'm not talking about starting over or rebuilding. You could have brought a new head coach in here to change things up, maybe give this team a spark that they need, and maybe be that spunky playoff team that people thought they were going to be. But instead, they're sitting 0-5. And now finally they hit the reset button a year too late. Maybe even, depending on who you ask, 2 years too late. So a team ready to win now, a team that's not in the rebuilding stages, a team that has a lot of talent, is yet again part of another lost season. Another season down the tubes, another season down the drain. And into this core that is built nice in Atlanta, that their goal is still to win a Super Bowl, another year is gone. And guess what? They're not getting any younger. Matt Ryan is 35 years old. He'll be 36 next season. Time's ticking if you want him to win a Super Bowl. If you want him to raise that Lombardi trophy as a member of the Falcons, time is ticking. Julio Jones, Todd Gurley, Hayden Hurst, Calvin Ridley, these are all players on offense. They should be in a playoff position. There's no excuse for them to be 0-5. There's no excuse for them to be hitting the reset button 5 games into the season, be in the same conversation as the Jets and the Giants, as the only winless teams in the NFL. It's like, pick the thing that doesn't belong. If you had the Jets, the Giants, and the Falcons, who doesn't belong here? Well, based on the roster, it would be the Falcons. But because, again, Arthur Blank let his emotions get the best of him, because he liked Dan Quinn, because he really thought that the players actually fought for Dan Quinn last year, he was swayed by that. He thought, you know what? It's a good idea. Let's bring him back. Didn't deserve to get brought back. Forget the fact that they've gone 7-9, missed the playoffs again with this core that should be, again, competing to win division titles every single year. Couldn't afford to throw away a year like they did. Couldn't afford to do it, and yet they did. And here they are again. Not to mention, forget the record alone as why Dan Quinn should have been brought back. This defense, Dan Quinn's specialty, was dreadful, awful, putrid, disgusting. Heading to yesterday's game, which another bang-up job by that Dan Quinn-led defense, Atlanta was 25th overall in DVOA on defense. Basically, they're the 25th efficient team on defense out of 32. For a defensive-minded head coach, that's probably not good. They were 31st. They were the second worst pass defense team in all of the NFL. And obviously, as you know, through the course of the season, they blew a 15-point lead to the Cowboys, followed that up a week later by blowing a 16-point lead to the Bears. And now that leaves the Atlanta Falcons and Arthur Blank picking up the pieces after another lost season, after another season that's wasted, that's gone, where you get a chance to rebuild on the fly, do similar to the Packers did, where they brought a new head coach in, but a lot of the core players stayed the same. Look where the Packers are, 13th through last year, undefeated this year, 4-0. That should have been what the Falcons were. They didn't need to rebuild. They needed to tear it down. They had everything ready to win. They just needed a head coach that could get the best out of his roster. And because Arthur Blank liked Dan Quinn, because he had a close connection with him, because he was swayed by the last 6 games when the team was already at the playoff hunt, when the team was already at the discussion, that 6 games led him to make the decision to bring him back, and now those 6 games are the reason why the Falcons are 0-5, rebuilding yet again in 2020, and have another year wasted with this core that they're trying to get a Super Bowl with, that is talented on offense to be a legitimate playoff contender. So the Falcons are going to Falcon, and they are yet to pick up, or they are here left, to pick up the pieces yet again from another wasted and lost season. So I'm curious your thoughts too. I would say, should the Falcons have fired Dan Quinn earlier, but that's an easy answer. But how about this? Now that there are 2 job openings, the Texans and the Falcons, which one is more attractive? The Texans obviously have the better quarterback. I would still go with the Texans here. But the Falcons have a lot of talent. That team is 1, 2, 3 pieces away from rebuilding, turning it around, and being a legitimate contender next year. I don't think you could say that about the Texans. Texans have a quarterback and nothing else. The Falcons really have a lot of pieces on offense ready to win now if you're a head coach.